In this session, we will give an introduction to marketing analytics. Upon completing this lecture, you'll become familiar with definitions, drivers, and advantages of marketing analytics, definitions, styles, forms, and variables used in models, definitions, families, and dashboards of metrics. So, how do we define marketing analytics? One broad definition states marketing analytics as data analysis for marketing purposes, from data gathering to analysis to reporting. But that definition is quite vague, so we prefer the following definition instead. Marketing analytics is the set of techniques and tools that provide actionable insight. By techniques and tools, we mean models and metrics. We'll define models and metrics later, but for now, understand that models refer to decision tools, such as spreadsheets, and metrics refer to key performance indicators to monitor the state of the business. In a way, models and metrics are analogous to common items found in an automobile. Metrics are similar to automotive gauges, and you see some on the left. They monitor the situation and help diagnose problems. For example, a driver could look down at her dashboard and notice that the temperature gauge was reading high. Based on that information, she could diagnose that something was wrong with the cooling system. Models, on the other hand, are similar to global positioning systems, also known as GPS units. Models show a representation of reality to help you decide on a course of action. So does a GPS. Modern GPSs represent reality in that they show the roadways in your current location. They help you decide on a course of action by presenting relevant information so you can make decisions. For example, the GPS unit could notify the driver of snarled traffic ahead, and she could decide to use an alternate route. As we'll show in the course, one should take care in how metrics are interpreted. For example, aircraft returning from battle in World War II showed significant damage from bullets, such as holes in the tail section. Military leaders interpreted this observation as a requirement to reinforce the damaged areas. Statistician Abraham Wald interpreted the same observation differently, recommending to reinforce the non-damaged areas. He stated that the observations included a selection bias, that is, it only included the aircraft that returned, not those that did not make it because they were damaged too badly. Therefore, be careful how you interpret data. Now we turn to several trends that are driving the adoption of marketing analytics in organizations across the globe. First, we see the trend of increasing accountability for marketing performance. CEOs expect their marketing departments to improve productivity and reduce costs. Second, organizational emphasis on data-driven presentations is increasing the need for analytics to back up proposed new plans. Third, data is increasingly being stored online, also known as the cloud. With online data storage, we get increased speed and convenience when accessing data. Fourth, many marketing departments have reduced resources, forcing them to do more with less, making the most of every marketing dollar. And fifth, thanks to initiatives to capture customer information, companies are awash with data. The big question is, what do we do with all that data? We analyze it, of course. Marketing analytics offers us many advantages. First, it can help drive revenue, positioning the marketing department as a profit center instead of a cost center. Second, it can save money. CEOs will no longer tolerate the old approach where marketing sent out campaigns hoping for results. Now, marketing analysts can predict the outcome of their efforts. Third, executives trust numbers. Analytics is thus a powerful tool to persuade executives. Fourth, we can even apply analytics tools to sidestep politics in some cases. Some CEOs do not appreciate marketing departments, especially if they themselves do not have a marketing and sales background. But virtually every CEO appreciates revenue, and analytics can deliver revenue when used effectively. Last but not least, analytics can encourage experimentation by allowing marketers to test multiple scenarios before proceeding. That way, they can make their mistakes on paper where they have little to lose. We now turn our attention to models and metrics. We can define a model as a simplified representation of reality to solve problems. We simplify reality to make models easier to use. For example, we can examine an advertising effectiveness model. The graph shows that sales revenue increases as we increase advertising spending levels. That should come as no surprise. But we can see that the effectiveness begins to level off once we hit the spending level marked by the letter A. After that point, we actually start to lose revenue. We can imagine that this level of spending would create a supersaturation effect where consumers are overexposed to ads and thus less likely to purchase from the company. The purpose of the model is to evaluate the impact of its input variables. In our case, we can assess how advertising affects sales. Models help us make decisions. They provide guidance on our marketing actions. In our advertising effectiveness model, we can see that we do not want to spend beyond the level represented by A, or we risk losing money. Models come in different styles and forms. We start with styles. Styles tell us how the models are expressed. As we can see in the image, they can be expressed in 3 different ways. First, they can be expressed verbally. For example, in the advertising effectiveness model shown on the previous slide, we could state the expression, sales is influenced by advertising. Second, models can be expressed pictorially in graphs or charts. For example, we saw the plot of sales revenue versus advertising spending level in the previous slide. And third, models can be expressed mathematically. In our advertising example, we could state that sales equals A plus B multiplied by our advertising level. We strive to express models in the mathematical style whenever possible. Models also come in different forms. Forms tell us about the power of the model. At the lowest level is descriptive forms. Descriptive forms simply describe the marketing phenomenon. At the next level comes predictive forms. With predictive forms, we can determine the likely outcomes given certain inputs. This is the classic what-if spreadsheet exercise. For example, we might say, what if we increased advertising spending by 10%? With a model in predictive form, we could see the resulting sales level. At the highest level, we find normative forms. Normative forms help us decide on the best course of action to maximize our objective, given the limits on the input variables. Instead of what if, we can say, given X, where X is a certain situation, what should I do? In the course, we'll discuss variables. Variables are defined as something that can change, such as advertising budget and sales. Independent variables are a type of variable whose value affects the dependent variable. Think of independent variables as the input to the model. In our advertising effectiveness model viewed earlier, the independent variable would be advertising spending. Independent variables are classified as controllable or non-controllable. Controllable variables represent things we as marketers have some degree of control over. For example, marketers can control variables such as advertising spending levels, features of the product we sell, stores in which we sell the products, and so forth. Conversely, we have no control over non-controllable variables. Non-controllable variables include areas such as customer age, economic conditions, and so forth. Dependent variables represent our marketing objective, which we can think of as output. In most for-profit companies, our marketing objective would be related to revenue, such as sales revenue, units sold, profit, and so forth. In not-for-profit companies, we could have related objectives such as donations generated, pledges made, and so forth. In this slide, we review the terminology around the most basic of models, the linear response model. Here we have only one input variable, similar to the advertising effectiveness model we reviewed earlier. As usual, our output variable is revenue related. In this case, sales revenue. We express the linear response model as y equals a plus b multiplied by x, where y is our dependent variable, here representing sales revenue. A is the parameter called the y-intercept. B is the coefficient to x, which we can interpret as the slope of the line, and x is the independent variable, which in our case is advertising. As shown in the graph, the y-intercept is the level of y when x equals 0. The graph also diagrammically shows slope, defined as the rise divided by the run of a line. We'll be using this nomenclature throughout the course. We end this module by introducing metrics. We define metrics as business-oriented key performance indicators. Examples include sales per distribution channel, cost per sale, profit per sale, and so forth. Metrics help us monitor and improve marketing effectiveness, allowing us to take corrective action as necessary. For example, we could track marketing expense as a percentage of sales. If we're trying to maintain a constant spending level of 10% of sales, we could monitor it. If it creeped above 10%, we can make a note of that event and reduce our spending levels to bring it back down to our target value. It is rare that companies only track a single metric. Metrics families, which are groups of control metrics, are more common. These families of metrics offer diagnostic and predictive information beyond that provided by a single metric. Examples include sales metrics families, such as sales per industry, sales per product, sales per month, and so forth. Metrics dashboards are groups of relevant metrics and metrics families displayed in graphical form. Marketing automation systems, such as those offered by Eloqua, Marketo, and Pardot, as well as Salesforce automation systems, such as those of NetSuite and Salesforce.com, offer metrics dashboards as part of their core functionality. We close the module by looking at our check for understanding. Number 1, do you understand the definitions of marketing analytics, models, and metrics? Number 2, can you discuss the advantages and trends driving marketing analytics? And number 3, can you explain model variables, model styles, model forms, and the linear response model equation?